Warren and Julie, welcome in. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
So good.
So good. That's pretty cool. I'm glad you're doing well. I want to start out with saying, thank you so much for being here. Your precious time, because I know y'all are very busy. I see that in your channel. Y'all are busy. All right. So I really appreciate your time for coming up here. Folks, this is Warren and Julie. They have a YouTube channel called Warren and Julie Travel. They're early retirement travelers, and they love to travel. There's a new word that's coming out on YouTube lately, slow travel. And this is the first couple that I heard the word slow travel in one of their videos. And that got my attention, along with watching their videos and whatnot. But they usually stay in countries one to 3 months, right around there, and just enjoy being in that area. And guys, if I'm wrong on any of this, say, hey, you're wrong, Darion. But they have detailed breakdowns of cost of living, income, all kinds of stuff. A lot of information comes from these folks. Okay, and they even do expat. What's that?
And we do it with their dogs.
And they have their doggies. That's right. Exactly. And we're going to meet those doggies hopefully here during this time. So, but thank you for being here, guys. Watching them and Warren and Julie's. I'm getting right off the bat. Their link will be down in the description below, as you can see on the bottom banner there. So I got to start out. Let me see. I'm gonna start with the ladies first. Julie, tell us a little about yourself, your background, where you've been, and where you are now.
Gosh, well, I'm in Germany right now, Zweibrücken, and I am 50. Don't like to say that too much, but I retired.
Don't look it.
That's so kind. I retired at 45, and to date, I've been just shy of 50 countries. And, I love it. We have been slow traveling. We started in 2020 in March, just in time for COVID, which was just, fantastic as the borders were closing everywhere.
Yes.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love it. And he's my best friend. So getting to spend my life with my best friend traveling, it doesn't get any better.
That is so awesome. We can dig more into that too as we go. And Warren, same question. Tell us a little about yourself. Where you've been, where you are now.
So
Anyway, here right now.
I'm here with you. So Zweibrücken. This is actually coming home from me where we are right now. This is a place when I was in my youth in the Air Force. I was stationed at the Zweibrücken Air Base here from March of '89 to August of 91. So where I am now is bringing Julie here to spend a month traveling around Zweibrücken, Germany, so she can see some of the places I was back then. Now, unfortunately, we closed the base in '91, so there is no more Air Force base here. So things have changed here a lot, which, so this is a chance for me to kind of reminisce to old memories, but still have, make some new memories here. And as far as me, I've been to about 50 countries. My dogs, one's been to 30, one's been to 29, and
check that out.
We planned to early retire. I was in the military for about 11 years altogether. Did it early out, and I went to corporate America. Retired at the age of 51. I'm now 57, and it's been a great thing. I would encourage you, if you have the means, to quit work early and pursue your dreams and do the things you want to do. By all means, do it. Now, we started with a YouTube channel as a hobby. It's kind of morphed into some other things, and we have a whole lot of other side tentacles from this as well. That actually keeps us quite busy. So I can't always say we feel like we're retired, because we actually have a lot going on from it, but we also get a lot of great social opportunities because of our channel as well. And, I would never say anything negative about having that opportunity to get those friendship gates opened. And of course, we've got our Facebook group as well that is
growing rapidly.
Yeah, we just hit, we're about 21,000 plus right now on there.
Oh, really?
Nomads, slow travelers trying to see what it's, try to brainstorm with each other and share their stories. But slow traveling, there really wasn't a slow travel channel out there that we knew of in YouTube. When we retired, we watched a lot of fast travelers showing us the tourist things. What we do is we try to see what it's like to actually live somewhere, because we did a lot of vacationing. I'd been to over a dozen, I think about 12 or 13 countries when we retired.
Yeah.
But we did our faster travels. We weren't getting a chance to digest what is it like to be somewhere. You're just hitting the tourist spots. You're just like skimming the surface. And when you spend 8 hours off of a cruise ship somewhere, are you really saying you know what it's like to live in that country? It's just seeing. You're just getting a chance to see something, and you hope the weather's good that day.
Right. Exactly. And that brings you to slow travel. There's a huge difference between slow travel, and I'm going to have you explain that in just a minute. And then spending 8 hours a day, then, that's just one day. And that's a great way to skimming the surface, because that's all that's happening. It's good to see, even if you got 8 hours, it's great. Yeah, take advantage of it, but it's really, you're just skimming it. So, when you first started thinking about slow travel, I mean, when did you start thinking about, I really want to retire and I want to do slow travel and just go from there?
Well, we didn't start that way. So in 2007, 2006, Warren really started talking to me about, in the future, I'd like to retire abroad. So we actually tried to scout around and figure out where was the one country we were headed to, because we were going to buy a place and that's where, we'd go live in the future, but we'd vacation in the meantime. Problem is, he and I have very different likes and differences, very different. He loves the beach. He loves heat. He loves lots of crowds, and I hate every bit of it. and so we're very different in our weather. We're very different in everything we do. So we couldn't really choose one country. Plus, we just really love to see other places and to actually get to know different cultures. And we realized as we started off, our jump was to Panama. And Panama just didn't click enough boxes for us. We were okay with it. It was a nice country, but
I do have to caveat something here. Julie and I have gotten wiser as we've gotten older about some of these countries too, because we didn't know about the power of YouTube when we were doing this stuff and when we were doing our research. So we weren't deep diving on some of these locations. Like when we went to Philippines, we were going off reading some articles, doing some research on reading things, the library. Yeah. So YouTube expands your ability to actually see what it's like somewhere, getting somebody's perspective. And that wasn't something that we even knew was in our toolbox. We had the International Living magazines that we would look at and get some clues on things, but we weren't as savvy then. But we kind of learn as you go. So 5.5 years of travel's done that. But we couldn't agree on a place. I liked warm places. She liked cool places. And so basically what it broke down to is when we decided to retire, we just decided we retire everywhere. But
that's so cool.
but we did buy a home in Montenegro, a cool little country on the Adriatic.
Nice place.
Population 600,000 some people, and about 100,000 foreigners living there. And it's an awesome country. We always kind of say it's going to be the next Monaco. It's got looks like it's going to be part of the EU in 2028. So it's going to ascend into the EU. It's been part of NATO for the last, 8 or 9 years now. And it's a great little country.
Wow. Yeah. I saw those videos. I watched a lot of your videos and I still haven't caught up. I got a whole bunch to watch, but I watched that one where you're showing people like different real estate and, you're walking around, you're walking other couples through in other videos, in different places. And it looks really nice. And there's two things I heard for the very first time from your channel. Okay. That is one is the word slow travel. What is that? And then there's another statement, the Schengen Shuffle. I'm like, that's a cool name. I heard it from your channel. And so that was neat.
Yeah. So slow travel, that's I don't even know if were really people doing that before 2020. I'm sure they were, but maybe it's just kind of has become more formalized in the name. As you know, we've been calling it slow travel now for quite a while, and I know it's out there now. But it's the concept of taking your time, spending 1 to 3 months in a location so you can immerse yourself in an area. And it's also much less expensive to do it in this way than to do a fast travel. If you're fast traveling, you're doing hotels, you're eating at restaurants, you're doing the tourist stuff nonstop. When you're slow traveling, I will put this out there. I expected we would be somewhere around $8,000 a month in 2020 that we would be looking at for potential cost to do what we do. But without even trying, over the last 5.5 years, we've averaged out to about $3,100 a month. So you can't even have a decent lifestyle in the US on that. When you're doing the Airbnbs overseas and you are searching for a place to stay, if you put in a month, you're typically going to see a discount on the prices. They're going to discount the prices. And if you put a maximum in, you don't want to go over a maximum. So oftentimes we'll put in $1,200 or $1,500 for the month on a place to stay. We'll have places pop up that weren't showing up because Airbnb wants you to get the ones that are $3,000, $4,000. So if you put a maximum in, you might actually see some stuff open up.
Yeah. And sometimes, if there's a location that, because while he's willing to spend a lot, I'm a little more frugal. I was raised that way, and it's hard for me to go against the grain. But, it's kind of like we might say, look, we want to go to Germany like we did here. Now, he won his Zweibrücken, but the previous year, we wanted to go to Poland. We wanted Gdynia or Gdansk. But at the time, it was super, super expensive and difficult to find anything in the summer because Ukrainians were going there. Everybody was going there. And it still is that way, but not quite as much. And so, he was willing to go up to $3,000 a month. I wasn't. And so we literally opened the map on Airbnb. We put in a max, and we just watched everything populate throughout the entire continent of Europe with all of our criteria. And then we looked, and Warren says, the Baltic area of Germany, I think you might like. Sure enough, we found a place. It was like $1,000 something a month, $1,077, I think. And while it wasn't like the Ritz-Carlton or anything, it was nice. I had a kitchen. It was actually a fairly decent flat, maybe 120 square meters. So I was really quite excited. It worked. It was a woman's house. She had a granny flat, I guess you could say. And it was fantastic. And we had a great month up in the Baltic.
Yeah. And so you brought up the Schengen Shuffle.
Yes.
And it's something we've done we've been doing for really 5.5 years. So as an American, if you want to come to Europe and you want to live in Europe, you can't just decide you're going to travel willy-nilly across the continent, because 29 of the countries on the continent of Europe belong to something called the Schengen. So it's most of the countries you think about. It's going to be France. It's going to be Spain, Portugal. It's going to be even over to Poland. It's Italy. It's Switzerland. So these are countries that you have to think of them all as one country, that you can only spend 90 days every 180 days within the entire Schengen zone. And then you have to leave the zone. So there's only a handful of countries in Europe that are not part of Schengen. And so if you want to live in Europe, and we also do this by car, by the way, and we have several different ways you can have a car without having residency, you can do what's called the Schengen Shuffle. So you go around Europe, and when you're running out of your 90 days, you have to go somewhere else. So you have Bosnia, you have Serbia, you have Montenegro, you have Albania, Macedonia, and then we went to Ukraine before the war. That's not Schengen, and we loved it. Lviv was wonderful. I hope that someday we get to go back there. The UK is not Schengen. Ireland is not Schengen. And you have Cyprus, and you also have the ability to take a ferry from Spain over to Morocco. So those are your areas. Oh, Turkey. Actually, we've been to Turkey several times. To to go to get out of the Schengen. So these are places we would shuffle into, and I will say we have actually as much fun, if not sometimes more fun, I think, in the non-Schengen countries than the Schengen.
Well, and when we started, we were really lucky because we had Croatia, Romania, and Bulgaria, but
they all joined the Schengen.
Oh, right.
So now Montenegro joins the EU in 2028. Typically, when somebody joins the EU, they're going to join the Schengen as well, but it's typically about a decade or longer before they go into Schengen from the time they join the EU. So it's not simultaneously, and not every country in the Schengen is actually EU. And so it's like Cyprus is part of the EU and also not part of Schengen. But Bulgaria and Romania, I think, took 17 or 18 years to join Schengen from the time they went to EU. It's been 20 some years for Cyprus. They're not part of the Schengen yet since they joined the EU. But yeah, Croatia was a decade. So you look at Montenegro, if they join in 2028, it's still a viable non-Schengen place to go for your 90 days out and live somewhere else before you go back in. However, when you're doing it, you have to realize you have to put a third country in the mix somewhere, because 90 days in Montenegro and when you leave the Schengen, if you went right back into Croatia after 90 days, you're still sharing the same day when you leave and come. So you need to have one more day somewhere else. So you can hop down to Albania, hop over to Serbia.
There's a will, there's a way.
but Albania loves Americans, by the way. So in Albania, you can go and stay as an American for 12 months straight. And then you can leave. Yeah, then you leave and take off for a couple months and come on back, and you get another 12 months. So
you also have Georgia, which allows 12 months as well to Americans, and actually to many nationalities.
And whether Georgia is Europe or not is really kind of debatable, because it's kind of like on the border there of Asia and Europe. And I think there's really I think a lot of people don't think of Georgia as being Europe, because you have your Russia and your Turkish borders, and it's just on the other side of the Black Sea. But it's a viable go-to as well. You could get a ferry out of Bulgaria and go across the Black Sea if you trust the situation there right now to get across the Black Sea.
Oh, I know. It's crazy times right now. No, you mentioned Turkey. Now, I've never been to Turkey, but I hear Turkey's a beautiful country, and I've seen like videos and stuff like that, and what I saw was pretty. What's your take on Turkey?
Well, we've spent a collective 10 and a half months throughout Turkey, so we have a little bit to say. We really loved it, to be honest. Warren wasn't excited to go in the beginning, and I twisted.
She twisted my arm. I watched one too many Liam Neeson movies. I was like, "You're going to be taken. I'm going to have to rescue you, kick down doors, and." So
I usually will not go anywhere without him. Not easily, not travel. And I literally told him, I said, look, you know what? If you're not going to go, I am going to go ahead and go without you. I am close enough to go. And sure enough, he comes out and he goes, I've made a decision. We're going for a month. Well, I decided that I wasn't going to tell him because he didn't pay attention anyway, but I went ahead and booked 3 months. So I found a flat in, he found the flat in Istanbul. And then I found the flats on the Mediterranean in Antalya. And we had an amazing time. We loved every moment of Turkey. Now, unfortunately, Turkey has now become much, much more expensive. We've had friends report to us that what we saw the last time we were there, the prices have gone sky high in comparison. So it is not any longer the cheap destination it was, but it's still an amazing country.
Well, let's say it's cheap compared to a lot of countries, but it's not as extreme cheap as it was.
No.
And Julie's not wrong, though, about me going to Turkey. I had a lot of hesitation about going to Turkey. Hollywood does a really poor job of telling people what it's like in countries. I've been blown away with Serbia and Turkey. As far as what it's like there and how welcoming they are and friendly they are. Turkey, I felt very safe. If Julie wanted to go out and take the dogs out at 1 a.m, I really had no worries about her. But when I first crossed that border, I figured the way it was going to go down was we're going to go across that border. Julie's going to say, yeah, this sucks. And we're going to spend about a week in Turkey, and we're going to turn around and head back across the border. That didn't happen.
He thought the same thing about Serbia, to be frank, as well, because I had gone there in 2017 without him. I had to go take care of stuff with our house in Montenegro, and he was unfortunately unable to go at that point.
I was still working.
He was still working. And so I drove all over Serbia. He thought I was nuts. I got a car in Belgrade.
Well, I don't think she's nuts. I kind of know this, but
I drove all over. I went from Belgrade all the way down to Zlatibor, Serbia, and then I went down to Montenegro. I went to Albania. I really up, and he was not a happy camper. But when he crossed the border in 2021, he says, I get it. I get why you loved it here.
Yeah, one of our favorite cities has turned out to be Novi Sad, Serbia. Very, very nice place, friendly people. Cost of living is extremely low. And so if you're going to do a Schengen shuffle and you're looking at, maybe I don't know what somebody's budget might be. We've got people that we know that are traveling on a $2,000 or $3,000 budget. But you bring in some of these lower cost countries, and then you can splurge a little bit when you go to the higher cost countries. We just happen to, without really trying, fall into approximately $3,100, which is not much different than our dog here is wanting to photobomb us.
Just when we're on camera for whatever reason.
But our
hey puppy.
Our budget, though, or I should say our budget, what we're spending is not much different than the average American couple on Social Security have to spend. So from a standpoint of people that want to travel in their retirement, it's really affordable, much more affordable than we ever thought. But if you're trying to plant yourself in Paris full time, or you're trying to plant yourself in Denmark, and which we love Denmark, but if you want to live in Copenhagen year round, your budget's going to be much, much higher. But you also have to get residency, which because they're part of Schengen, so you have to figure out a way to get legal residency if you want to stay in those locations, and those are challenges as well.
And those are things we also do on our channel a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember your one video, slow travel with Social Security. That was very interesting. Going through all that there. Now, what are some of the biggest cultural differences that you found in any country that you've been in that really shocked you, really just blew you out of the water? What's the biggest, if you have one? You may have many.
Ecuador was culturally very different.
It's not Europe, so we're going to hop over to Ecuador. So we retired March of 2020, and we left the United States on March 15th, and
that's right.
They closed the border right behind us. We were like the last Americans to get into the country. They were actually pulling the gringos off the flight on the way to Ecuador because they were closing the borders. We were literally like the last flight coming in. So I don't know if any more Americans came in after us. So when we got to Ecuador, it was strange because we went to a world of everybody wearing masks, and we were going straight to a quarantine when we got in. We had a 15-day lockdown. We had to try to figure out how to get groceries delivered to us. It's challenging. So we spent we didn't intend to spend 9.5 months in Ecuador, but because of COVID, our whole South America leg got thrown off. So we were going to go do a few months in Ecuador and then hop around South America for basically 2 years, and then go over to Europe. But that didn't happen. But Ecuador, we had some adventures. We climbed the Andes. We went to the Amazon. We did a lot of great things there, but Ecuador prepared us for a lot because things were a little bit rustic in many ways in some places, and we. I guess, coming from America in some of these situations, initially you could feel a little uneasy about interactions or the way some things look. And we got used to living in Ecuador so that by the time we were leaving Ecuador, our American goggles were gone. So when we go into what Americans would call Eastern Europe, and there's a neighborhood with some graffiti or something that it doesn't look pristine, we were already not used to the pristine America stuff anymore. So it prepared us to be able to say, oh, this is just a neighborhood. People live here. It's not like a ghetto where it's going to be dangerous. There's not going to be gang members. It's just
and we felt safe throughout Ecuador. We were happy. Cuenca was wonderful. We loved Cuenca. As a matter of fact, we're headed back in September to Cuenca because we are ready to redo our South America leg, and it's time to take a totally different jump across the world.
Yeah, so we're coming back to Europe though in 2 years. So we've got our car. Cool. Yeah, so we got our car. We're when we leave Germany, we're heading to France for a couple months, and we're gonna hang out on the beaches in Normandy. And the beaches in Normandy are actually nice for the summer, but I want to go
very nice.
To do all the historic stuff too. So we'll be outside of Honfleur, and then we're going to fly out of Madrid and go to Ecuador, and we're going to go back to where we were in Cuenca. We know people there. It's got a very large American population in Cuenca, Ecuador, and it's at the 8,500 foot level. So it's spring-like temperatures year-round. So it's not like the steamy hot like you have on the coast.
Perfect for me.
And there's there's about 10,000 Americans living in that area of about 300-some thousand in Cuenca. And there's pickleball. There's all these different things to do. So there's an expat community to get to do some things with. And while there's always going to be purists out there that say, oh, I don't want to go somewhere just to hang out with Americans. It's not about hanging out with Americans, but that's where you actually find out when you're in an expat community how to meet the people of that country that want to interact with other people. Mm-hmm. In Montenegro, our expat community there is about 100,000 people, and there's about 600,000 Montenegrins. But the 100,000 people that are living there are not from America. They're from all over the place. Americans might make up 1,000 people. So, we're maybe 1% of the foreigners in that. But they use English as a bridge language in these expat communities. So our friends are from all over the place. They're from France. They're from Germany. They're from the UK. They're from Canada. They're from South Africa, and but we use English is the most spoken language. But we've got friends from all over the globe that are living there in that expat community. Ukraine, yes, and so So anyway, as far as culture, or not culture, the culture shock things,
it is. It's non-pristine living. A little bit on like how dogs are.
We're talking Ecuador.
Yes, okay. In Ecuador. A little bit how dogs are treated. You have to kind of get a little more accustomed to the fact that dogs are not considered the domestic animal that is your friend so much. They're more of a work animal in the Ecuadorian's mind, on average. And she's being quite a pill. I'm trying to think of some of the culture shocks we had. Oh, the mercados. The
unrefrigerated meat laying out there on the counters and the flies buzzing around.
Oh, yeah, that would.
Yeah, it is a different world. I mean, if you started off your expat journey in Germany, and then you headed straight to Ecuador, if you were an American, Germany, then Ecuador, it would be a massive, massive culture shock to you. Because again, it's like there might be half of a cow hanging. I mean, it's very different. However, with that comes a lot of great things because Ecuador has some incredible fruits and vegetables you only see in Ecuador.
Yeah, we have fruits we've never seen or tasted anywhere else. And so, there's the, what's that apple?
Custard apple.
The custard apple. It's nothing like an apple, but it only comes from the Amazon. It doesn't stay good very long, so it doesn't get shipped anywhere. So you have to have it there. And then dragon fruit, which is in the U.S., that's very expensive. You can eat dragon fruit every day, any day you want down there. It's fairly inexpensive. But it's I can't even think of all the different weird things
Well,
we ate.
I mean, we did not, but they eat cuy, which is guinea pig.
Cooey.
Big thing there. And, they eat, like if you asked for a chicken soup, in Germany, you would have a little chicken, you might have a little carrot, and you're going to have a broth, correct? But if you ask for chicken soup in Cuenca, you're going to get chicken feet inside of that chicken soup.
Yeah,
All right.
for you.
And it'll have the claw. So
Really?
cultural.
All in all.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you go to the regular restaurants, you're not going to see that. But if you go to like the local, like really local Ecuadorian stuff, then that's the type of stuff that could be in the meal.
Yep.
Wow. Yes, it's definitely interesting to see different cultures, different everywhere. Even between like Germany and the United States. I mean, yeah, there's differences, but there's a lot the same too. Just a different place. I was there as a kid because my dad was retired military as well. I lived in Gießen, so I was there 4 years as a kid. That's where I learned how to speak a little bit of languages, a little bit like counting, hello. That's where I learned how to say "I love you" in German. Yeah, we had a teacher, a German teacher. I went to the DoD school there. I was in 4th grade, and Hale Mueller was his name, and he just make sure you go to him and tell your mother I love you in German. So he taught us Ich liebe dich, and when we were practicing all day to go home and say to him. And to this day, my mom and I, we still say "Ich liebe dich" to each other. And we would say it in English too, of course, but just for memory's sake. And then I went in the military later, back in the 80s, and I was in Germany 88 through 90 in Schweinfurt, Germany, Lehrerberg Barracks. So we were in Germany at the same time. You were there in 89. But I got a lot of memories.
Time to be in Germany. It was an interesting time. So much history.
Yes.
Well, first off, the World Cup, when Germany won the World Cup, you swear they just won World War IV. It was just crazy the way they all came out out into the streets, and we were running up and down the streets. Me and this other guy Kenny, we went down to Zweibrück to see what was going on, and we ended up with the German flag, and we're running up and down the street with it in our hands, and we got girls coming up, give us bottles of wines and giving us kisses, and we're watching all these people jumping on top of the cop car and the cop in the car going by, just waving, smiling, and it was just a hoot. And then when the wall fell, we got to see all of the Trabis with the East Germans coming across, and then. We got to see the reunification of Germany, and that was actually felt somber. It didn't feel like a celebration. I felt like, oh, we're going to go downtown for this reunification ceremony, and thinking it would be kind of like the World Cup, but no, it was like a stark difference. So World Cup winning was like the greatest time ever. Going to the reunification, it was somber. It was not corks opening up, and beer wasn't flowing, at least not in Zweibrück. And I don't know about other areas. It was kind of like
I know Berlin was hot. Berlin was really they're having a good old time. David Hasselhoff,
Oh no, I'm speaking about when they did the official reunification.
Gotcha.
The official. So I think this is when they were trying to figure out how their taxes are going to get shuffled around and rebuilding and the supporting and so
right.
When they were coming across, and the wall was falling, Congress was falling. Yeah, that was good times. But that's where it's kind of taken back when that feeling wasn't there, when it was like, okay, now it's time to seal this deal and make this a one country thing. It was different. The fall was definitely exciting.
Absolutely. Remember the mark rate back then? That was awesome. But before the fall, oh wow!
I prefer the days when we had several currencies in Europe, because you always felt like you could take advantage of something somewhere. And the euro being everywhere, you just don't have that same fluctuation, so to speak. I mean, there are countries that things are cheaper and you're using the euro, but it just felt different when you had the different currencies and the cost. You were able to see it more. However, at least now you don't have the constant currency exchange that you're having to pay for when you have money left in your pocket.
That's right. Now, question: what would be your favorite place in Germany? Your favorite city? And I know that I have like 100 favorites, but what are some of your let's say your top three? What are your top three favorites of places in Germany?
Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit partial because of nostalgia, because I do like the Rhineland-Pfalz area.
Oh,
and so I do like I it's kind of like Zweibrücken has a place in my heart, so I'm going to
sure.
say Zweibrücken is going to be in there, and then I'll just encompass the surrounding areas, so I won't duplicate them, because you have Pirmasens and you've got other little towns in this area that make up the region. We went to Saarbrücken the other day, which is also a nice place to go and hang out and visit. I like Munich. Munich is definitely worth going to visit and check out, especially for Oktoberfest. I had so much fun on Oktoberfest. Stories that I won't even tell here because it will just taint my image. So I won't even talk about Oktoberfest.
I'll plead the fifth on that one too.
And then going down to the Bodensee, Lake Constance on the border of Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. That was a nice adventure when I was younger to go through. We camped out in one night in each country around the lake there, and also took the ferry across. So the whether it's called the Bodensee or the Lake Constance, depending on where you're coming from,
right.
That's a nice lake. Frankfurt is okay. Kiel is okay. Schicksley up towards the Baltic, and Lübeck.
I like Lübeck.
Is interesting and could be.
I haven't been to Lübeck yet.
You've been to Lübeck?
I haven't, not yet. Yeah, this is in the plans. I went to the German. I've always been, Bavaria, Rhineland Falls, Black Forest for years and years and years, because a lot of it's timing. You have to have time. But I finally made it to the north of Germany back in January. It was a short trip. I was only there like 7 days, and I finally made it to Bremen, Bremerhaven, Cuxheim, all around there. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want to get up to Lübeck and Kiel. I want to go see Kiel and all these other places too. What's that island where the water drains? It's muddy, and then you'll get stuck there's an island there. I can't
remember.
Saved my life. It's near Kiel, I believe.
Oh,
Fleming? No, is it Fleming?
Fleming. Isn't it Fleming?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And if you go up that area, and you're probably very aware of this, at least for me being a non-native German speaker or non-German speaker, I like my understanding is maybe 20-25%. Used to speak a bit better when I was stationed here, but when I was up in the Kiel area, I thought, okay, I'm going to get immersed in German, and it seemed to be not as it was a different dialect, and when they're saying "moin," and when you're instead of saying "morgen" or "tag" or "hello," it's just you had this "moin" and
Fischbrötchen.
Yeah, and the Fischbrötchen was up there,
which is good.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and so so it's Germany, but it felt like a different type of Germany. It's about as it was kind of a mixture, I think, almost between Denmark and Germany. It's got its own kind of vibe or culture up there.
Sure, I noticed a big difference when I was up there. Like I said, this was a short time. The circumstances, I didn't plan to go to Germany in January, but I surprised a friend over there. That's a long story. It was a surprise too. So I went to Bremen. That's where I had the first brochure. No, Bremerhaven. That's why I had the when you mentioned the fish, that was good. I was right there on the road, it's like, oh, wow. That's pretty fishy. I cracked myself up. But I enjoy seeing the and there is a difference. It was cold, but I enjoyed it. What I did find that was really neat. Now, if you notice by my profile picture, I'm all about spaghetti ice. Spaghetti ice is my favorite dessert in Germany. I mean, that's when I want to go to Germany, I go to the ice cafe. I want to go to the ice cafe. I want some spaghetti ice, and that's my profile picture. That's what I'm eating, spaghetti ice.
Right
but
there.
they had boats there right there in the dock, and they had an ice cafe on a boat, and sure enough, they had spaghetti ice, but it was closed because of the cold. And then you mentioned the Moine, okay, and you'll see Moine everywhere. But Moine, I'm used to saying, we'll going to Bavaria all the time, Franconia, Black Forest, all stuff, either Hollow or down in Bavaria, Gott or Großgott or whatever different dialects. Now I'm saying Moine. So okay, now and everyone's saying Moine. You say hello, Moine. Everything's Moine. Instead of thank you or Moine, that everything's Moine. And then I learned something. I said Moine. I was trying to say thank you very much, I guess, but instead of diddle dunk, I was trying to think Northern Germany. I went Moine. He goes, oh no, Hamburg. People from Hamburg say Moine. And they talk too much. I mean, it was fun. It's like a fight, a fun fight between Bremerhaven and Hamburg. They say Moine. They talk too much, and they laugh. And the reason why I know that because I was talking to one guy from Hamburg and one guy from Bremerhaven, and they go, yeah, you talk too much. Oh, so do you. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. You learn so much when you travel.
No. It's interesting because you can be a German speaker and at least in my perception, it's going to be like being in America where you have people in the South have an accent, people in the Northeast and other parts of the country are just have that different dialect, different vibe. It's in Germany too. You have different vibes and different dialects and places. And when I was up in the northern part, I was telling Julie, I don't feel like they're speaking German. They either speak it too fast or something. The words are not broken up in the same mannerism as I was used to hearing in the Rhineland-Pfalz area or the area where I was used to being exposed to hearing German. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the way I was picking up on it. It was I had a much harder time breaking up the words.
Right. Now, how far are you from like Ramstein? Are in that area? Is that
Ramstein's probably about 40 some minutes away.
Wow.
Kaiserslautern is not far from here.
30 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so there's we went up to K-Town the other day just to have dinner with a friend of ours, or a friend of mine that's German that was
good old K-Town.
Yeah, so we went over there, but we actually need to get out and go back up there and actually get out into the real downtown because we went up there for a restaurant, so it was kind of we just touched the surface, but we've got to go into K-Town and thoroughly explore that while we're here. We're hitting a lot of the forests and doing some of the hiking trails, which Julie is loving.
They are incredible.
Cool canopies.
I think it's so cool. This country is so neat about. They have these wild parks. They're like what we would call a wild animal park, but they're called wild parks. So they've taken these forest areas and created them into just these oases that cost nothing to go through. You can just go through the pathways, enjoy it. You can bring your dogs, and it is just an incredible experience.
That's awesome. We're dog lovers ourselves. My wife and I and my family, and everything, and we have a basset hound. Her name's Snickers.
Oh.
Yeah, we love dogs. Now, what are your dogs' names? I know it, but I forgot.
Arya and Katie. So Katie is a half Chihuahua, half Yorkshire Terrier, and she's 14 and a half. And,
she's being quite a pill right now.
Yeah, that's the one that keeps walking back and forth. Our other dog is a bit bigger. She's a mix, a mutt of some sort that we rescued in Ecuador.
Oh, that's great.
She's about 30 pounds, and she's a good girl. And so she's one country behind Katie because Katie has Canada in her country count.
Yeah.
And Arya does not have Canada in her.
That's so cool.
So,
that is so cool.
But yeah, and actually we've been trying to figure out a lake near here because we're in the middle of a heat wave. The lake where I used to be able to go swimming here, I guess, is no longer open for swimming. So it's just something to walk around, and we're gonna hit probably up in the I think 38, 39 Celsius tomorrow is gonna
35.
be like
35.
Oh, 35. I thought we were gonna be like into like 95, weren't we? And
it says 35, but maybe it's the feels like temperature.
Yeah, so we've got some heat
it's
coming
hot
tomorrow.
You're right.
Want to get the dogs into the water, and as you know, in Germany, many places do not have aircon. It's not the priority, and And so where we're staying here, we got the windows cracked. It's still livable. It's not like Florida heat.
Right. Big difference.
But it's
I got the AC on, everything fan on, and all that stuff. Man.
Yeah, so we want to go for a swim take the dogs for a swim, take them out, sit in the shade somewhere. But the swimming lake nearby is no longer swimmable, so we're looking for a place to go. There is a pool here in Zweibrücken that I used to go to a lot. There's an outdoor pool, there's an indoor pool, 2 different pools, and the
you swim, bud.
Yeah. So I took Julie to the indoor one the other day, and we sat in the little therapy pool. And
there are so many. If you literally just put indoor pools near me in this region, it populates like 30 of them within like 2 hours. I'm like, you've got to be joking.
That's good to keep in mind. That's good to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah, so for our comfort, we're good, but we're just looking for a place where we can take our dogs and let them cool off too.
Yeah, no doubt. I love to swim. I'm a swimmer. I love to swim, especially the lakes in Germany. One of my favorite places to swim is the Eibsee there in Garmisch. I love that lake. Have you ever been to Garmisch?
No. I will have to plead the not the fifth, but I'll have to say no.
It's right there where the Zugspitze is located, and everything. You know, the highest part in Germany, the highest peak in Germany. Right. And they call it the top of Germany, even in English, the top of Germany. It's right there at the Austria border, right there. But I go to Garmisch a lot.
I'm going to have to Google because I think my map in my brain is messed up. Let me look where Garmisch is because I'm going to say yes now.
It's about 45-minute car drive from Munich, south of Munich, about an hour and a half from Berchtesgaden. Okay. Right around there.
And sorry to make it all go quiet here.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Now the Bodensee.
I'm trying to see how far it is from Munich and how far it is from the Bodensee to see where it actually is located.
It's a beautiful area. I tell you that. That's why I keep going back.
Yeah, we want to get out to the new. I'm gonna screw. I can never say it right. The new Schweinstein Castle.
Yes.
We need to. I want to go out there with Julie, and I want to get up to Heidelberg here in the next few days as well.
Heidelberg, yes.
As well. But yeah, I have not been out to the new. That's the hardest word for me. I don't know why.
It's hard for me to do. Newspaper sign. It's right there. That picture on my wall behind me.
Yes. So when I was here when I was younger. I was telling Julie, we did not have Google Maps, and some of the things we're going by and seeing, I had no idea they existed because we didn't have Google Maps to say, hey, this is here, this is there. We had to either look at a regular map or hear it from somebody else just to be able to go and Google something and find something you want to do or want to see. It's so easy now. It just changes everything. Finding different walking trails you didn't know that were there.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That's one other thing I like to do. Germany's full of hiking trails. I mean, everywhere, all that place. My family and I we're planning a trip in the very near future. We'll be in Germany, of course, and we're going. Lake Constance is one of them. So we're staying at Constance for a couple of days, and I can't wait. I'm going to swim in that lake. Now, did you ever get to swim there?
Yes. So yeah, back when I was here in I guess it would have been like 1990. But yeah, it was great. And we haven't been back in the modern era, is I guess how we should look at it. But you had camp areas around the lake, so you can go out there, you can camp, and you had different swim areas and basically each of the countries. And so I don't know what if it's still reflective of the way it was there or way it was then as it is now, but I certainly hope it is because it was a lot of fun, but I don't know if those rustic areas are still going to be there.
Wow. Well, one thing I noticed about Germany, I always say this, that the only thing that changes is the cars and the clothes. A lot of it stay the same, but things that do different. The business leave, new ones come in, whatnot. But it is pretty neat to go back when I was stationed in Schwab, go back, and I go to Schwab all the time. That's on my wall too. But I go there all the time. I got a video coming out tonight, as a matter of fact, on Schwab, on cost of living in Schwab. And but anyways, I love that area. But it's good to see places that were there even back in the 80s, and they're there now. But it's also sad when things were, well, I missed that. That was here, that was there, whatever it may be. I mean, that's just part of the course there. Now,
here in Zweibrücken, we used to do pub crawls. We'd go down to the Fußgänger zone and the downtown Zweibrücken. You had all the different pubs, and there was a building at the far end of the Fußgänger zone called Wienerwald, and it was the last standing building in Zweibrücken after World War II. So it's about half a meter lower than the rest of the Fußgänger zone because that building was left standing. Everything else is built on the rubble. And so we'd start there. We'd do the pub crawl, and we would go hit probably about 9 or 10 pubs and finish off at a place called Heine's, then go get snails and pizza over at Pizza Roma to finish off the night. Most of those places don't exist anymore. Wienerwald is closed. So if you want to do a pub crawl, it's going to be really, really short now. They opened up a mall up in up where the base used to be, and a new outlet mall. So I think a lot of the foot traffic and shopping traffic is now gone up there. So the area where the Fußgänger zone is just so much more quiet now. And so that's a little bit sad for me to see that, that hasn't kept up. But when we get out to the other areas of the town and the city, it's still very similar to that feel that it used to have. But it's that the middle of the city, the Fußgänger zone. I would love to see the excitement and the life come back in there, but I feel like it's running about 35% of what I remember it being like back when I was younger. So things change. But Zweibrücken is still a fantastic place, but it's one of those things you come back and you reminisce, and you do have things you'll miss that it's just not there anymore.
I would love to check out. I've never been to Zweibrücken. I want. It's on my list now. I just wrote it down. The place there's a lot of places I want to go to, and but I want to touch on something before I get to what I want to touch on. I want to touch on this too. For the viewers out there, you mentioned your Facebook group that I'm a part of, over 21,000 members as you have now. I love it. That is a great thing. I met so many people on that group and how they talk and everything like that, and I think that's really neat. And so you got something really going. I have a Facebook group too myself, but mine's focus. It's just Magnificent German with Darion. The Facebook group. So. It's not. I'll give much exposure as like Expat or something like that. But that is a great service to people. First of all, I love community. Obviously, y'all do too. And to have that expat community coming together, sharing their travels, of course. But everybody's sharing. I think that's neat. And
we have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, we do. It does take some work to administer. Our YouTube channel is about 37,000, going towards 37,000 subscribers right now. But
wow, nice.
Historically,
I'm one of them.
Historically, our channel was feeding our group. So for the first, I'm going to say 8,000 members, it was pretty much strictly from our fan base of our YouTube channel. And then something happened where the floodgates started opening up that Facebook started sharing us with a lot of other places, so it's brought in a lot of people that really, I guess now at this point, just they know the Facebook group, and maybe they're not as familiar with our YouTube channel, where before that was primarily mostly about our based on our YouTube stuff, but it's kind of morphed into its own life. But it's called Expat Slow Travel Nomad Network by Warren and Julie. Initially, it was called Warren Julie Travel, and then we broadened it, the title of it about 2 years ago. But really, in the last 4 or 5 months, it's blown up a lot.
Oh no, it was only a year ago that we did the new title, because you cannot change your title on Facebook if you are over 5,000 members.
So did we pass 5,000?
We passed 5,000, and I think it was like November or December. And so we were lucky that we got it in when we did, because otherwise you cannot make any kind of change.
Absolutely. That's really neat, and that's what I like about this YouTube thing. I started mine in 2019, not knowing it. I was just pointing the camera. I didn't even know what I need to edit. That I'm just having fun, and then and I do a lot of vlogging, stuff like that, and it's growing a lot since then, and it's growing more lately. But anyways, I'm having fun doing it, and it's about community, and again, I love people. And then just meeting people like y'all and everything. I'd love to meet y'all in person one of these days. And it's just really neat. I host a YouTube meetup every year in a place called Helen, Georgia. It's like an alpine town. It looks like a German Bavarian town in Helen, Georgia. And we have our sixth annual coming up in March. It's always the second weekend of March. It was 6th, 7th, and 8th. In 2026, and that's growing too. One of my friends, have you heard of Walter's World?
Yeah.
Mark Walters. He's going to be there. Him and his wife. I known him. He was my first subscriber that I ever subscribed to anybody back in 2008. I didn't even know what YouTube was. Everything. I got YouTube and subscribe. I was like, I don't want to pay for nothing. What is this? It was 2008, and then I said, okay, let me try. So that was my first subscription, and over the years we became friends. He's been to my house, him and his wife. We met up several. We just have a good time. And in fact, my last podcast, what came out last Saturday, last Saturday. It was or Saturday before last. It was Mark and I. We were doing a podcast style like this in my series. But anyways, but also do meetups in Germany. And I got another one coming up. It just came up in the last couple of months, having right here in Ocala, Florida. Folks are coming there too. But the whole point is meeting people and get to know folks. And I want to brush on. There's so much stuff I want to
real quickly. If you talk to Mark again, see if he remembers Warren and Julie, because when we first started, I was talking to him for advice. When we were in Ecuador, I was chatting with him, and we would get on some of his live streams, and he recognize us, but I don't, it's been 4+ years since we tried to have any contact with him. But if you talk with him, tell him Warren and Julie says hi from YouTube and see if he remembers us.
Hang on a second. I'll see if he's available.
Oh, do that. Got him on speed dial.
Yeah.
That's a real friend.
Okay. There he is. All right.
Yep, I see it there.
Yep. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Hey, all right, you got just a split second? Okay, I'm on a podcast and we mentioned your name, and I have Warren and Julie right now who I am interviewing as we speak. And he asked me, hey, if you get a chance, could you talk see if you remember these folks? And it's Warren and Julie Travel. I'm going to put you on speaker. Hang on a second. Okay, go ahead, Warren.
Hey, Mark, this is Warren. It's been probably about 4 years since we spoke, but I don't know if you still remember Julie and I or not.
I don't know. I'm sitting here in Slovakia right now, so I'm not sure. I'm jet lagged and trying to figure out what I'm doing now.
Oh, jet lag. Oh, no.
Yeah, we were in Ecuador.
What was the channel?
We were in Ecuador back then, right when we started our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. How you guys been?
Oh, we're doing good. We've been in Europe for the last 4+ years, and we're about to head back to South America for 2 years and continue our trip that got cut short of because of COVID.
Right. That's right. God, it's been a while. Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, when are you guys going to South America?
We're going to go to Cuenca for our home base, and we'll be going there in September. And we'll home base there, leave our dogs in Cuenca when we travel places, and we'll take off for a week, come back for 7 weeks or so, take off for another week, go to different places like Argentina, or go to Panama, go to Chile, go Machu Picchu.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I'm happy for you. That's cool.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, we were talking about, you were one of the one of the YouTubers that we used to watch, and actually I say used to. We just have been so busy we're not watching as much of other YouTubers lately. I apologize, Mark.
Good save. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Cool. No problem. You guys have a great time. All right?
Enjoy Slovakia.
Take care.
Later, guys.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No problem. Greetings from Slovakia.
Safe travels. Bye. Bye. That was cool. That was Mark Walters.
Yeah, I'm just cool. I'm glad he still remembers us. I'm sure he probably has another dozen people like us as well that he's spoke to over the years, if not more.
Right. I think he's over 1.5 million subscribers now, something like that.
Yeah, he's much bigger than I think it was like 150 or 200,000 or something.
No,
then
he was like probably 300,000 or 400,000 at
Was he?
least. Yeah, he was up there.
Yeah, I actually did a video on our top YouTubers way back when we started.
Yep.
I could go look and see what he had in
That's true.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That was totally unplanned.
there. No, that's cool. We like him. He's full of good advice, good knowledge.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely. Well, I just we just did that podcast. I think it's on my channel, but it's I think it's 2 weeks ago. Him and I were talking and stuff like that. So I want to invite you to watch that. But before we get going, I've already been up here almost an hour. That's crazy. But I want to touch on your insurance. Now we're switching gears here. Are you an insurance broker?
Yeah. So I'm a retired insurance executive from the U.S. So I've got my insurance license, and so when I retired, Julie and I, we had our insurance when we were abroad, and I kept having people ask me, well, what are we doing for our coverage? So I would send them over to the company that we had our insurance through. And finally one day it dawned on me, and it's like, Warren, you have an insurance license. You probably need to find out if I can get appointed with these folks. So if I'm referring somebody, I can, get some sort of comp out of this. So after, doing dozens of referrals for nothing, I got appointed with one company. And then I figured, okay, I need to find out about the other companies in the space. And so I got appointed with the other players. And so, so I have focused a lot of, I've got a lot of knowledge on the international health insurance world out there. And so that's one of the, I guess probably one of the main unexpected revenue streams from our YouTube channel is that I'm working a lot with people looking for international health coverage. So I probably help about 400 or close to 400 people right now with their international health coverage, whether it's for travel, trip, or expat coverage, Nomad. So that's been an area that I never thought I was going to be using my license again or being involved with doing anything with insurance, but here I am. And
you never know.
Yeah.
So if somebody like future nomads or whatever need to contact you for an insurance quote, can they contact you, or how does that work?
They can email me at warrenjulietravel@gmail.com or go to warrenjulietravel.com, and they can go to our international health insurance page, and they can look at the different carriers, run their own quotes there. If you do run a quote and sign up through the links at my website, I do get a commission. For that, I thank you. It does not change your rates.
Okay, absolutely. I know where I'm going, because I learned my lesson. I'm going to make a long story very short. When the C word day came, I don't even like saying COVID. When those days came, first of all, I messed up my travel plans for over a year and a half. But anyways, I never got insurance before. I don't need it. I'll be all right. I was one of those guys. And then when all that stuff happened, I always said on my live streams on my channel, I'm going to be the first plane to Germany, because I go to Germany once, twice, sometimes 3 times a year. I mean, since I went back in 2008, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. It took me 19 years to get back. And when I came back in 2008, I realized how much I missed Germany. And since then, I've been back 30 times exactly, back to Germany. And it's about to be 31, in a little bit. Yeah. But anyways, so when COVID happened, everybody was getting stranded and stuck in quarantine and all that. They said you buy insurance for $29.99, and I was like, I don't want to spend $29 because I'm very frugal, and why am I paying $29.99 for it? So I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be stuck anywhere. I'll pay $29.99 and just eat it, and I did. And I didn't even know what I bought. I knew I bought insurance. Whatever, here it is. So I was one of the first planes in Germany. In fact, I was the second plane that came in within 10 minutes from the States. So that was pretty close. And I was by myself. I don't know one time going, I don't wait on nobody. Anyone go to Germany? Okay, well, bye. I'll be back. Anyway, so I spent like 4 days, going all over Germany. Went up to, I did go up to Essen. I went to Essen, Germany a little bit. Visit some YouTubers, subscribers. We got together. That was neat. And then, anyways, and I went down to my cherry spot, which is Garmisch. I love Garmisch. And going down there, and I've always been, always go to the Zugspitze. Now, the Zugspitze, I've literally been on the Zugspitze, I counted 30 times. Okay, or that's how much love. My first time was in '88 when I was stationed in Schwab and all that stuff. So I'm making all this short. Well, long story short, I'm still blabbing. I wanted to go to the Alspitze, which is just beneath the Zugspitze. There's the Zugspitze here and the Alspitze here. I've never been to the Alspitze. I see it all the time, but I've never been of it. I'm by myself. I'm on no one's schedule but mine, and my goal was to go up the Alspitze. I have a bad back, and it's hard. And I broke that in Germany, by the way, a long time ago, a place called Grafenwehr training area. And anyway, so I was going to.
How many people make it through the military without some sort of injuries or some sort of?
I tell you what, that's true. And I went up there, no intending to hike anywhere. I was to take the gondola, the Seilbahn up, look around, and go back down and go swim at the Eibsee. I had my backpack with my swim trunks in the back. I was going swimming, right? And this is July 1st, by the way. And they just let people in 26 June. But anyways, this is 1 July. So I'm up there looking around, everything. This is beautiful. Well, I started talking to this German couple, and a very nice couple. And it goes, have you heard the Sound of Music? I'm like, yeah, I grew up watching that on like every Saturday on the Saturday matinee. The Sound of, I love that. The Hills Are Alive. I'm a Sound of Music fan, and everything. And it goes, oh yeah, well they filmed the opening credits down this mountain. Is it right here? I had no idea. Yeah, there's so anywhere to go. Then I started rationalizing. You know what? I can make that. I could do it. That looks easy. Well, looking and what it is totally different things. Well, long story short, I get going and I realize how steep. I didn't realize how steep it was until I stopped. And I'm vlogging this. This is all on vlog, by the way, and horrible quality as far as, because this is my first time I ever edited a video, and so I got the music loud. I didn't know you could adjust or anything, but anyways, when the music's loud, it's kind of loud. I apologize for that if you watch it, but anyways, I'm vlogging my trip. And I'm saying, well, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop right here and go back because I don't want to be in a hotel room for 4 or 5 days or whatever I said and everything. Well, by then I started to go up. And it was too late. It was so steep. I found myself climbing, and I'm like, oh, my back's killing me. I have no choice. What am I going to do? No one's around me. No one's around that day. And now remind you, this is country's just opening up. All right, so no one's out there. I'm at this beautiful place by myself. I'm like, I could do it. I think I can. So I start walking, and then I found the spot and everything that they were talking about and everything. And right when I did it, long story short, I slipped on a rock because it was so steep. I slipped, and when I slipped, I'm trained to protect my back. Okay, I did that very well, but because of the steepness, I made the sound and everything. It went, oh. Broke my ankle and top part or the bottom portion of my leg itself, so 2 places and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, long story short, I was there 2 hours before anybody came around. We had to get somebody, mountain rescue had to come get me and all that stuff. I get to the hospital and I get asked that question. Do you have insurance? And I'm like, I didn't even think about the $29.99. I said, yeah, I got TRICARE, whatever. I got all this stuff and everything. And they said, we don't accept any of that here. And that's my lesson of, oh, really? Oh, boy. So he goes, you broke your leg. You're going to have surgery. I even asked him, I sort of made a funny there. But I said, can you just wrap me up and put me on a plane? Because I don't want to do surgery. He was 9. And I went, 10? He goes, no. And he goes, no. Yeah. He goes, but you have to pay out of pocket. He goes, you have to pay half now. And he goes, we could bill you the rest. I was like, how much is this? He goes, well, it's going to be about $8,000. That's like $150,000 here, But and I was like, man. I said, because we'll take care of everything once it's done. Well, after surgery, I wake up. I'm in La La Land. I'm waking up all groggy and everything. And then something hit me. I'm like, didn't I buy insurance? Because it was bugging me. I got to pay $4,000 out of the pocket right now. And everything. And so it was bugging me. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a minute, what did I buy? What in the world did I buy? So I started looking on my phone. I'm in the hospital bed now. And this is in Garmisch, by the way. And I called the number for Europe. So, and the lady says, oh, you have 100,000 for medical. You got 20,000 for travel. You got this and that and that. I'm like, well, I'm in the hospital. I just broke my leg. Everything. Well, yes, I had to pay everything right there, but because you get reimbursed. So before I left the hospital, I paid everything. Here you go. But when I got back to the States, not only did they pay everything, they sent a traveling nurse from Florida to Garmisch to come get me on a first class ticket back, flying back from Munich to the States, all for $29.99. That was the best decision I made. So ever since then, I have not left. Without insurance at all.
Yeah. Having some sort of trip insurance and a medical component to it is important. Some people are looking to just try to protect their flight, their baggage, but you got to protect yourself as well. And then, of course, if you're living long term overseas, you want to have that medical.
Oh, yeah. Accidents happen.
Yeah, and a lot of things are less expensive in Europe and around the world than in the United States. So a lot of people will look at doing, okay, I'll pay for the outpatient stuff out of pocket, and maybe they'll just do a program for just inpatient care. So if they end up in the hospital, or that they'll have the emergency evacuation coverage as well. So, there's different components you can put together, but yeah, that was a well spent $30 for you to save your $8,000.
You got that right. They pay about every cent of it. I couldn't believe it took 30, and it's what happened in 30 days. In 30 days, on the 30th day, they had it. It was like, okay, I'm never leaving home without it again. But that's awesome. So, see, our goal is now. I'm completely retired. My wife's not. She's a school teacher. But we still have kids at home. We still have teenagers. So help. But we still have two teenagers, and I love every bit of it. But when that time comes, I love it, and that concept of slow travel is really getting me, because I don't want to sell my house here in the States. I want to keep my house here, but that's appealing to me, to slow travel and stay here a couple months, go over there a couple months. Now I'm prone to Germany. I love Germany so much. I do. I really do. But because of videos like Montenegro and stuff like that, I want to venture out too. There's other places that I want to go to, which y'all gave me those ideas. And my wife and I watched. My wife's not a YouTube person or a camera person. You'll see her every once in a while on videos and stuff like that, but she just, and I respect that. But anyways, but she's on them, just not like I am. I'm like, hey, what's up? But this is how it goes.
But each country has its own culture. It has its own architecture. It has everything, So while Germany is amazing in so many ways, its food is so much different in contrast to Spain or to Italy, or my goodness, to Montenegro or Albania. So, it's worth seeing so much of Europe.
But Julie and I we both agree to this. We want to be omnipresent. We can see ourselves living in so many places. And because we've been to a lot of places, it makes it really hard to actually say, okay, let's settle down, because there's that want to see what's around the next corner. Let's go to this place we haven't been to yet.
I like that.
And
I like that.
We just keep.
It's a wanderlust.
Yeah, so you keep peeling back another layer of the onion of, okay, well, and you find yourself getting torn though, because you want to go back to where you were before because you had such a good time, but you also need to figure out time in your life to get to the next place. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, I need to go here, but sometime I want to circle back to here. There's so many places I want to circle back to.
It's addictive. That's the problem. It's really addictive because you think, okay, I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to relax. And then you get itchy feet by the third month, which I'm hoping doesn't happen to us in Cuenca. And I don't think it will, because we are going to travel out.
Right. And that brings out an adventurous heart and soul, to do that there.
It's not for everybody. I mean, there's people that that
Crash and burn.
there's people that like to live in their one location, and they'll spend most of their life there, and they'll do a week trip here or there once every 5 years, and that's good for them. Some people in the U.S. have never even left the United States, but this is not for everybody. But I kind of look at it. There's always been people in the world that have wanted to cross oceans and go explore, get on a wagon train, go settle places. And I guess, if we lived in another time period, we'd be crossing on the Mayflower or we'd be getting on a wagon train. And...
Well, it's like he said, it's not for everyone. We had a YouTube viewer recently. He watched us a whole lot. He decided to leave the United States and move to Albania. Albania is not your first stop, not if you've never left the United States. It's very different. It is growing, it is changing, and it's evolving, but it's not there yet. So it's not like walking into Germany where maybe you just have a little bit of different food, and maybe the houses are a little different in look, and you've got the older architecture in different places. But this guy crashed and burned in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so the
Wow.
thing is, if you haven't traveled, you need to travel a bit before you go to a place that's somewhat remote from expats, because there's places in Albania that has a great expat population. He could go to Saranda and over in Tirana, but Saranda has a very vibrant expat community that's there. It's on the coast, but he went to an area near Vlora, but it doesn't have much of an American expat community. But he also did not use the Facebook groups to find an expat community. So he went there solo by himself, not knowing the language and not using the tools that are out there to find other like-minded people to help you to break into the culture and break into the scene. So he just went there and decided everybody would decide that they loved him and would embrace him. But that's not how it works. When you show up, that local in that strange country is not saying, hey, Mr. Foreigner, let me show you around, be my new best friend, let me explain everything to you, spend time with you. No, but an expat community will do that. So if you are going abroad, you look for those expat communities because they can speak your language, they can hold you by the hand. There's people that are like-minded adventurers, and they'll introduce you to other locals that they know. Or there's, don't put yourself out there if you're not used to being out there by yourself traveling on your first stop. Don't put yourself out there isolated by yourself out in the middle of the wilderness.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, folks, I want to thank you for your time. I could be here for hours talking to y'all, but I know we gotta be respectful of time. That brace of an open one, maybe we have another one of these in the future. You never know, because I really enjoyed this conversation. And one more thing before we leave, I got one more question. What is your next? What are your aspirations for your channel in itself?
We have no aspirations. This was the whole YouTube channel thing was because I was early retiring, and I was at a football game with some colleagues in Maryland, and when a guy said to me, he goes, "Warren, you're too young to retire. What are you going to do with your time?" And I decided, I didn't want to be just like, okay, we're in this country, what's on Netflix? Okay, what's the next country? I said, maybe I'll do a YouTube channel. Give me a reason to go out and talk to somebody and mingle with somebody and get out of bed and go somewhere. And so I started off the YouTube channel with that in mind of doing it like that, and to also show family and friends where we are without an expectation that it would actually grow to where it is today. But we're obviously not like Mark Walters, but we are, we got our niche that we are.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's all about just having fun, but it's like, it goes back to community, and just sharing what I love. I love traveling to Germany. I love traveling, period. But Germany is one of my favorite places to go. And I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time there, when that time comes, without a doubt. So we're pretty much on the same wavelength there. I think that's.
I'm sure at some time we're going to cross paths in real life as well.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we'll be back to Europe in a couple of years, but if you end up down in South America, let us know. And who knows, maybe when we're in the U.S. for a stopover or something, we'll have a chance to crisscross as well.
the door is open. The door is open.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, if we're going back to the States, we're going back to Florida because that's where our boy is. So it's there's a chance we'll meet you over there in Ocala at some point.
That's awesome. That would be really, really neat. Wait, in closing, I'm gonna ask my guest, y'all are my guest, to help me close out. Now at the end of I do this for everybody with no there's no warning, there's no nothing. It's just whatever comes out comes out. I always say Dankeschön, Tschüss when I say my videos or whatever. But I like to do it animated, like Dankeschön, Tschüss. Will you help me with that?
Sure. Dankeschön, Tschüss is what you okay. So Dankeschön, Tschüss.
I'll say
All
No,
right.
I need to do Dankeschön, Tschüss. You know how to say Dankeschön and Tschüss. You've done it enough. Come on, ready?
All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Dankeschön,
Tschüss. Oh, and ciao.
ciao.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.